Okay, so I've got my views starting to come together. In other words, I've got some floor plans and 3D views that I've been showing you, particularly the perspective views which we've set up for rendering, and then the other kinds of 3D views, so those axonometric views where we've been looking at using section boxes and other similar views. That one actually was for the stairs, but it's now been moved, so maybe I'll just quickly adjust the section box there so that you can see what it was supposed to show, which is the set of stairs there. So there we are. So okay, so it's showing the stairs again, and so don't forget about those views. Those axonometric views are really useful. And then, of course, got the other orthogonal views, sections, and then possibly even elevations. And so then that's, of course, why you're using Revit primarily, to create those views. It's a good 3D design tool as well. But again, the main reason you're using it is to get these drawings that you can then either use on their own or take into a graphics program, as you're going to do with Laura, using InDesign and Photoshop. And so we've looked at how you can set up sheets in order to do that. I just wanted to go over the view setup a little bit more and maybe go through the setup of some sheets that you can use specifically for those graphics packages, like again InDesign and Photoshop. So these sheets here, they all have title blocks except for the last one, which I set up with you earlier, which is a blank sheet. But I'm going to delete that and start again from scratch, and I'll actually delete that first page as well, because it has these plan drawings which I want to put onto other sheets. So just remember, when you make a sheet and then you place views onto that sheet, you can only have the view once. So this plan view here, I'll just show you, it's called ground floor plan. If I go onto another sheet, and I'll just make some room, and we'll first start, there we are, I need to find that view, there it is, ground floor plan. If I try to now place that into the sheet, it's going to tell me this view's already been placed on another sheet. So I can't place it until I've either taken it off that sheet, so I could go and delete that view from the sheet, or we can just delete the whole sheet. It's normally not a problem to delete sheets, because you don't have very much work on them. The views are separate. So if I delete this sheet, the view that was on that sheet is still there, and I can just put that onto another sheet. So I've gone through this before, but I just want to go over again the tidying up and setting up of the views. So before you place the views onto the sheet, it's really good to spend time just tidying up and cleaning the views generally, and just thinking about the general setup. So here we've got, again, O2 level 1, and I've got a view called level 1 plan set up already, but I want to set up another one for printing. So I'm going to right click on that view, O2 level 1, go to duplicate view, and I'll just choose duplicate. So I've got a new view, and then I'll right click on that view name, go to rename, and we'll call it first floor plan. Oops, got caps lock on. Okay, so you can give it any name you like. So it's gone into the list over there, and so I'm sure you're getting used to the different ways you've got of hiding and unhiding objects. So, of course, when you right-click, you can go to Hide in View, and then either Elements or Category. So I'll choose Category there to hide all the reference planes. And the other option is to Hide in View Elements. So there, I've just selected one of my sections, and so if I hide the element, it'll leave the other section views. Oh yeah, sure, it's a good point. Okay, so then you click on the light bulb, it'll show the hidden elements. Exactly, exactly. So, yeah, so that's right. So when you select it, you can right-click and then unhide in view, to do the reverse, so obviously go back and make it unhidden or not hidden. You'll also see that option up on the ribbon. So that's a good one to keep an eye out for, because then you can remind yourself whether you hid it by element or category. But it is the same when you right click and go to unhiding view elements, does the same thing. The only exception to that is reference planes. And that's, you can see I hid the reference planes just a moment ago, but they're not coming up here. So reference planes are different to everything else. You need to get them from a list. So here in properties, you can see you've got visibility graphics. So you need to go to edit and then annotation categories. Right, and then you'll find reference planes there. So that's the only way to unhide reference planes if you've hidden the whole category. But it's only reference planes that work that way. Okay, so there's my reference planes. If we hide by element, they do come up with the light bulb. But again, if you hide by category, so I'll unhide that. Again, so if we hide by category, again, they don't come up with the light bulb, but you can go to the list. And so I'll tell you the shortcut for that. So that's a really useful option, bringing up that dialog box. So VV, double V is the shortcut. And it is still really useful to use this list to hide things. So maybe if you wanted to hide furniture, you can do that from the list. And again, VV, quickly bring it back. So I've got some other things I need to tidy up there, so I'll hide the section again. So you can see that the level below, the ground floor, is coming through onto this plan, and I don't want to see that. And so you can control that with the underlay setting in the view. Over here we've got the range, the first option there, set to the ground floor. So I'm going to just change that to none. See, that's gone now from the plan. Then also it's a good chance to look at some of the other just general graphic settings you have for these views. So for a project like the one you're working on, coarse probably is the best display. So with coarse, it takes out the detail, and with walls like this you may not see a huge difference, but with some walls, especially say the cavity brick walls, so I'll just make one, and brick veneer as well. So these walls that have components are going to show more detail when you go to fine. In coarse, they just have a solid fill. And so for design presentations, especially the types that you're doing, that probably is going to be a good display. But to control the colour of things like walls, you need to look at the type properties when you go to edit type, and you've got the colour here. So that coarse colour only comes up when you've got the view set to coarse down here. Again, if we go to fine, it uses the material. So when you go to edit the structure, you've got the material in here. And so even though this material is called brick common grey, it's actually got no material. It's got a grey colour, but that's about it. So, okay, so in a view like this, we'll just see it with a white fill. If we go to, if you want to see the grey, you need to go to shaded. But then it's not just the walls that'll have the shaded colour, but also the floor. So let's have a look at that floor colour. So with the floor, I'm going to go to edit type, and then again edit the structure, and you can see here that it's actually got the material on by category. So I'm going to go and choose a material that I've made, or finished. Well, actually, it's one that's already there, and then you can see it's got a lighter colour. So that colour there will come up in the shaded views. So there we are. So again, if I go back to coarse, it'll keep that colour on the floor, but the walls will go back to black. So So lots of different options for the graphics, even just using, again, coarse, medium and fine. And then also you've got these options, of course. Wireframe probably isn't the most useful, but hidden line is good, shaded, and then realistic can be an option as well. So you can see here that these furniture pieces that have a realistic texture show that even in the plan view with realistic. And if I get the floor, again, so I'll just select it over here. So I'll go to a different floor material that I've made. Okay, so I've got some wood materials for flooring. And so I've got some ones that I've called timber as well. Here's the one that I've made, timber floorboards. And so it's got a timber floor texture that's obviously from a JPEG file. That's a photo of some floorboards. And so that's going to come up in the plan view. And that can actually look pretty good. You can do similar things with either InDesign or Photoshop. So you can render your plans in Photoshop and apply the same textures. But it can be easier sometimes to do that in Revit. Depends on the approach that you're using. That's right, yep. So, and you can mix the approaches as well. So, I mean, don't be afraid to use either approach. They both make sense in different situations. So it can be good to do it in Photoshop because you can maybe control the brightness and the other things a bit more directly, especially if you keep it on separate layers. That's fairly easy to control. But I'll show you again with Revit, you can control those things if you go to graphic display options. And then you've got a huge number of options there to adjust those view settings. So I'll just show you a few. Lighting is a really good one that you can use. If we go to the sun option there, you can adjust the brightness. So I'll just drag that up. And one thing I noticed is that a lot of people aren't sure when to use apply or why you use apply instead of OK. And that's right, exactly. Pretty much, yeah. Well, so that it applies it straight away. So it'll apply it if I click OK as well, but if I click OK, this goes away. Whereas if I click apply, this stays, but I can see the change. So you can see it got slightly brighter. So that's the sun, but then we've also got ambient light. And if I drag that up, click apply, again, that'll make the whole thing brighter. I'll just click OK so that I can come back and turn the shadows on. And that can be a useful option. But if you're going to use shadows in a plan, you'll often want to control the direction a bit more. And also you can see that it's casting shadows onto the ground there, which doesn't look very good. So we can turn that off if we go to sun settings. Now you've got this option for the ground plane. Apply, and you can see it goes away. So it looks much better already. You can control the angle up here. So this is the direction, the 135. You just think of it as a 360-degree compass. Okay, so 90 is this way, and then 135 is up that way. 90 is which way is it? Let's test that actually. So let's put that to 90. And yeah, so 90 is coming from that side. So yeah, so 135 again. We get around further, and then the altitude is the height of the sun in the sky. So if I make that angle greater, then we should have longer shadows. If I make it less, let's make it 20, and we should have reduced shadows. So you can play with those angles, and then just click OK. So if I go back to that graphic display options, and then back to lighting, now I'll adjust that shadows brightness. Bring that up, you can see it darkens the shadows, bring it down, you can see it lightens them. Okay, so you can get some pretty nice views using those options. And then to take it a little bit further, you go to Photographic Exposure, you can fine-tune lighting even more. So tick that Enable, click Apply, That's an automatic exposure. Now if I go to manual, I can drag that slider and control it. Okay, so there's a lot of adjustment you can make to these views. This is only just touching the surface. Oops, a bit too far. And then if you go to colour correction, you can go much further. That's right, yep. Exactly. You've got exposure there as well, exactly, that's right, spot on, yep. Okay, so when I've got exposure control, these lighting effects still make a difference, but they're being clamped or basically controlled as well by the exposure. So I'll keep that view as it is, and so now I just want to place that onto a sheet. Oh yeah, but also when I look at cropping. So I've been hiding things, but then as I zoom out, you can see that we've got these elevation views still showing. Now you can of course hide those as well, just the same way, right-clicking, hide in view category. But I want to show you a different way, and just make sure you know about cropping. So down here you've got these two options for cropping, and so if you know the crop symbol, it comes from an old thing, the right angles, the two right angles, were traditionally used to crop. So that's where that symbol comes from. So the one with the light bulb on it shows the crop region. And when you click on that, it should turn cropping on as well. Right, so you can see to the left, that button to the left, even though I didn't touch it, the red cross has gone away, which tells me that cropping's on, and I can see the region. This is the region. And so now we can select that and then use the grips on the side to drag that crop region in closer to the plan. And so you can see it's hidden those elevation views, but it's actually done something else as well. It's also making that whole view smaller. And so you'll see when I go to work on this on the sheet, that's the border it's going to use, even if it's hidden. Okay, so I'm going to hide it now, using that same button I used to unhide it or to turn it on. So again, hide it, and then now I'm going to make a new sheet. So down to Sheets All, I'm going to right-click and go to New Sheet. And so what sheet size have you been working with next door? A2, okay. Yep. Okay, so we'll go with that. So I'm going to click Load, and then go to the Revit library on the P drive, and then title blocks. And you'll see I've added a lot of title blocks here, particularly for taking into a graphics program. So in other words, they're just blank, a lot of them are just blank pages. And not often the best setup. When you're doing the sorts of presentations you're doing, you generally don't want these more technical looking title blocks with all that information that you'd have for maybe construction drawings. But for, again, the sorts of presentation drawings you're doing, you want usually something much plainer. And then if you're going to add any title information, you'll probably do that in design anyway. So again, from Revit, often you just want a blank page that gives you the page size. So I've got here, so I've got A2 blank no border. A2 metric blank is basically a blank page that has a little border on the inside. You can use either of those, but I'll use actually one up here. I'll delete that back up. Okay, so I'll use A2 metric blank no border. Okay, and so maybe from the outset this time I'll rename that sheet so I know which one it is, and I'm going to call this floor plans. There we are. Okay, and then I can simply drag my first floor plan now onto the page, and then click to place it. But, yes, that's right, exactly. So if you want to put it onto another page, there's a simple trick. You can just duplicate the view and then, yeah, put the copy. No, Oh, yeah, so the things inside the view will, yes, absolutely. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, it'll change everything, yeah. No, what you have to do, until you know about design options, just save as a new project and then you can make your changes. Yeah, 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 that's the best way. Now, there is a really cool tool in Revit that does exactly what you wanted, called design options. And that way you can have several different design schemes in the one project file. It's a really clever option, but you do need to set it up. Yeah, but then, okay, so say I've got this view with all the settings I want. So, a really good option then is to right-click on the view and create a template from that view. There's something I don't think I've shown you before. So if you go to, again, right-click on the view, create view template from view, and I'll call this plan graphics. Just click OK. So now I can go to the ground floor plan that I've made earlier, right-click on that view, and apply template properties. And choose plan graphics. Sorry? Oh yes, of course, yeah, absolutely, yep, yep. Okay, so you can see it's taken on the same graphics as the other plan. I've got a different material for the floor, but you can see the shadows look the same and all the other graphics basically the same as the other view. The only thing it hasn't brought across is the crop region. Now, we always get someone asking, can you copy the crop region from one view to another? And the answer is you can, but you do it using a different option. You don't use the crop region. There's a special tool called scope boxes, which is a bit more advanced, but you can do it if you need to. So later we'll look at scope boxes. It's one of those great tools on the View tab if you're interested. That's where you'll find scope boxes. But again, for the time being, you can just adjust the cropping manually, as I did before. So I can just bring that in close to the plan, and that's going to be good enough. And turned off. No, that's a good point though. Exactly, same size, yeah. But that's a good point. So yeah, I should have pointed that out. Of course, the size still comes from the scale. And so I'm assuming you're doing 1 to 100 for these overall floor plans, but I know that you might need to do some 1 to 50s for the individual apartments. Is that something you have to do? Okay, so I'll show you how to do 1 to 50 of part. Are you doing 1 to 50s of individual apartments or? Oh, good, perfect. Okay, great. Yeah, excellent. So, yeah, so I'll show you that. Okay, so I'll put the ground floor plan onto my sheet as well. And I probably can't fit a 1 to 50 on here, so I'll make another page for that. Now one thing I should point out as well, notice how I've got the lower level below, the ground floor at the bottom, and the first floor on top. So that's an important thing as well, that you order them in that way, in most cases. Yes, yeah, that's the best way. So now I'll make, again, just a new sheet with the same title block, so I don't need to load it again. I can just click OK. And I'll rename this, and we'll call it Apartment 1. Okay, so I'll go back to my first floor plan. And so I want to do a part plan just of this apartment. So a really good tool for that is callouts. So on the View tab, you'll see that you've got the callout option. So with that, I'll just make a rectangle over that apartment that I want. So notice that gives us this nice reference box. The section there is going over it a little bit, so I'll just stretch that out. By the way, for presentation drawings, make sure you put a break line in for your section. So there you can see this one has one. So there you can see it's got a break in the line. but this section doesn't. Okay, so I just select the line, and again in the middle you've got that symbol for the break line or to put a gap. Oops, just click on that again, there we are. And then you can adjust those points. So, no, that's right, yeah, especially the big long line. Yep. So you can see then that this call out now has a similar type of reference. It's come up over here on my drawing, so I'm going to drag that using the handle there over to the other side. And so then you can see below it I've got now first floor plan call out 1. And so for that I might want different graphics, so we can always turn the shadows off, maybe set it back to hidden line. And then notice how the scale automatically has gone down to the next scale. So it was on 1 to 100 before, so it's automatically dropped it down to the one below. You can still change it afterwards if you decide you want it to be 1 to 20, that's fine. But of course we want 1 to 50, so that's good. I've got that section there showing which I don't want, so I'll hide that by element. But the other sections maybe would be good. Well, maybe not this one, so again we can hide that. But this section here would make sense to show on this plan as well. So I'll keep that, but again I've got to put a gap in to make it a bit neater. And so now that view can go onto my sheet, just like the others. So it's floor plan call out 1. I drag that across and place it on the sheet. I can easily rename it there. So I'll call it apartment 1 floor plan, will do. And again, you can see it shows us the scale. Obviously, we can see there that it's that scale. Actually, I won't do too much more with that view. So then to go with maybe a plan of that apartment, we might want some different types of views. So the maybe camera views for that apartment could go next to the plan. So I'll just make a quick camera view, maybe going through there. So when you're setting up the camera views, don't be afraid to adjust this crop region, but remember it works differently to views like plan views. So if you go too far, I know I've shown you this before, remember it's changing the field of view, so you can see there already that's a very wide field of view. If you think about the way you draw perspectives, if that becomes too wide, the view's going to look a bit unusual. So just remember that when you're adjusting that border with your, especially with your crop regions, with perspective views. Otherwise though, you can definitely adjust it, just don't go too far. And again, we can use all the same graphics options as I did for the plan view. So we can go to shaded, realistic, and go into graphic display options and really fine-tune all the graphic settings. And you can do a lot with those things. So again, maybe just exposure control quickly. So those are all good options. And these views can of course go onto pages just like perspective. So I'll also give that view a better name. So I'll call it again Apartment 1 Perspective. Okay, so then going back to my sheet, that can go onto the page. Move the plan over. You can see I still am going to have trouble fitting that onto the page because of the size. So remember the plan and views like it have the size set by the scale. So that's pretty simple. You can change it in the view, or you can even in properties over here adjust that scale and quickly see the change in the size. But remember, perspective views work differently because they don't really have a scale. So do you remember how to change the size of perspective views? Exactly, spot on, that's good, yep, exactly, yep. So size crop. And if you just want to change the size, make sure you change to the scale option. and then you can go for your life just typing in different sizes here. So that's 281. Let's try a bit smaller, so I'll go for 180. Click OK, and you can see it's made it smaller, but the view itself hasn't changed. Okay, if we use the other option, if I did it with field of view instead, that would change the view. Just so you can see, I'll make it different. So I'll make that 150, and you can see it's brought the top and the bottom down. So that's different to changing the size. Well, it does change the size, but again, in a different way. Okay, so then we can adjust that title. Just change the position. Okay, now if you're going to render that in Photoshop, it's not a bad idea to have line work copy. So you can bring it in shaded like this and use those textures in Photoshop. But if you want lines, remember you can just set the view to hidden line, and they work really well. When you bring those views into Photoshop, it'll automatically cut around the lines and make it transparent, so that you can just work with the outlines and then put your textures in behind. And is that something you've done, working with transparency? You did. Oh, wait, yeah. Yeah, good, good. Yeah. No, good. Yeah, well, I'll show you with this one. Okay, so if I've got all hidden line views, I'll just save the file. So both of these views are hidden line. And then if we make a PDF, so I'll just go and do that. So I'm just going to go to print using the PDF, Adobe PDF. Window, make sure it's on always zoom 100%. Set page size. I'll set it to center as well. Preview it. Okay, so that's what I'll get. So I'll click OK. And yep, I'll save it here. So let's call it Myrtle Street, Apartment 1. Okay, so it's made the PDF file. Hasn't opened it for me, but it has made it. So I'm going to go and open that with Photoshop. I don't want to show you too much with Photoshop, you do that with Laura, but just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so here it's finally opened it with Acrobat. See that? Doesn't hurt, but again, don't need to see that straight away. So I'm going to go to Open in Photoshop and just show you that file. There we are. Okay, so don't change any settings here unless you know what you're doing. The only setting usually you might adjust is the resolution, but for now, just leave all those settings as they are. Okay, so do you know what the checkerboard means? Transparent. So these are cut out. May not even look like the perspective there, but it is. So all the lines have come in perfectly, but you might need to zoom in to see them properly. So a good trick there, at first you'll see, well, I'm sure we'll show you better ways, but for now I'm just going to make a new layer, drag it to the bottom, and then fill it with white. Just makes it a little bit easier to see those lines. Okay, so it's all come through perfectly, but the important thing there is that it's a transparency, so then you can do all of your rendering without having to cut around all of those objects. And when you've got complex 3D models like this, it takes far too long to cut around all of those shapes. Whereas if you can just render underneath all the lines, and I might just show you that on the plan because it's, oh no, I'll show you in the perspective. Okay, so again, I'll just do a polygonal lasso. So you're probably getting used to that already. The polygonal tool is one of the best selection tools. Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick polygonal selection just so that you can see it is transparent. Okay, so I've done a quick selection, and I'll make a new layer, and I'll use the paint bucket tool and just fill it with a colour. Sort of a blue colour, maybe, so it looks like glass. Maybe sort of cyan. There we are. And loop. And now, have you seen this happen? When you go to paint something, you set a colour, but it doesn't come up. It comes up grayscale. That's because of the mode. So here, if we go to image, mode. Oh yes, now I didn't notice. Someone's changed it. Yeah, yeah. So you've got to watch out for that. Someone, I don't know why they changed it, but yeah, if I'll just open another one, that is something you should change. And I should have checked for that. It's here. So you've got the mode. Oh no, that's okay. It's on sRGB. So that's all right. Yeah. So okay. So I must have been setting the file when I printed it from Revit. So again, that's the PDF settings. But you can easily change it afterwards. You can just go to mode, and then image mode, and then you can change it to RGB, and just say don't merge. So now it'll work with the colours. So you can see there, it's got a lot of lines inside that area. So if this wasn't a transparency, I would have had to go and select in between all of those lines, which would take hours to do properly, or maybe not hours, but a long time. Sorry? Transparency. Transparent background is the key. Yeah, and Revit does that automatically when it makes the PDF file. Yep, that's right, the checker pattern. So the white I've added, but under the lines it is still transparent. And so that works really well. And then we can play with the opacity of that as well as a separate thing, again, because it's on its own layer and it's going underneath the line work. That's the important thing. If you're not rendering with transparency around your line work, you're doing it the wrong way, and you'll take far too long to do things, and it won't look anywhere near as good. You can tell straight away the people who don't work with transparencies because their line work's really messy and often covered up by the rendering that they've done. And the rendering's really messy because they've had to go around all the lines. It takes far too long, and again, just doesn't look as good. So it's all about thinking about the right process, and then it makes the work much easier, and again, you get a better result. Okay, so again, don't want to do too much with Photoshop though, so back to Revit. And so then the other types of views you should think about as well, your axonometric views. So remember, you get the default 3D view with that name 3D in the parentheses. And so mine's been adjusted. So a really good trick there is to rename views like that when they come up with that default name. Give them a new name. So I'll call this stair axo 1, as long as it's a different name. So now if I click on the house, it'll make a new view with that name that shows everything. It's just one of those little Revit things. If I hadn't renamed it, it just would have kept taking me back to that view. Okay, so now I can make some adjustments, and a really good option, I think, with these axo views that I haven't shown you yet is displacement. So I'll right-click on this and again go to rename, and I'm going to call it exploded axo, or axonometric. So exploded views are actually a pretty common type of view that goes way back, but there's a tool in Revit just to make these views. Okay, so when you select an object in a view like this, you'll see you've got this option up here to displace elements. So I'm going to click that, and then I can drag these things apart just in that view. So I'll go to another view, and you can see, well, these are all just showing part of it, so I'll make a new view, just so you can see the building is still together. It's only in that exploded view that I've exploded it, or brought them apart. Okay, so I've dragged this wall away, but I actually want all of these other walls on that side of the building to come away with it as well. So with that selected, and go to Edit, and then just click on these things to add them to that group. Okay, so I've brought away that whole side of the building, so we can see inside. So I'll click Finish. And now I might come around and I want to bring this part out as well. So again, I'll select that wall, just the main wall, and maybe with Control I'll select that pier, maybe try and get this one as well. And again, I'll click on that Displace Elements button, that's the main tool. Again, dragging these away. So maybe the corner there could work on either of those, but I might add it to this one. So I'll go to Edit, and then just click on those parts and it'll add them. And then finish. Okay, so then finally, I want to bring these floors and the roof up so that I can see this apartment inside. So again, I'll select one of those. And with Control, maybe I'll select some of the other parts. That'll do. And then again, click that Displace Elements. And this time, I'm going to use the blue arrow to drag it up. Okay, so but then again, I can see that I'll actually want this ceiling to go with those things as well. So I'll select that, and again, go to Edit, and then select the parts that I want to add to it. Finish. And maybe in shaded, that's going to be a bit easier to look at. Or realistic, maybe. And you can also use shadows in those views, which can help. But again, don't forget, if you don't want them onto the ground, go to Sun Settings and you can turn the ground plane off. So then finally, to make that view easier to understand, if you select any of those pieces that you've exploded out, you've got the path option. And you can use that to project lines back to the plan so people know how this all gets assembled. So I can go to all of these elements and just project those lines across, and then also have them going down. So that just comes up when you go to Edit. So if you select any of those pieces, you get that option at the top, and you can go to Path. So there we are. So that's just another type of 3D view. So now again, going back to my sheets, I'll make a new sheet using the same title block, and drag that view onto the page. It's going to be a pretty big view. Should just fit. Nearly. So it's going to fit maybe on portrait, but on landscape, it's probably not. So I'll just adjust the view. I'm going to activate the view. While it's selected on the page, you can click Activate View, and then work in the view just as though you're in the view itself. So I can adjust the angle and see if I can get that to fit a bit better. Should just make it if I get the angle right. Yep. So I can drag this back a bit closer, and it should be okay. This can come a bit closer as well. Also, you can turn these titles off, so those titles, again, could probably be done, again, better in InDesign. So often you just want to set those in properties to no title. turn them off altogether, and then I can fine tune that position. Still going to have trouble fitting it at this scale on the page. So maybe I'll just quickly show you can change the sheets. You can see in properties this one doesn't give the option for portrait, I don't think, so you have to go and select the sheet, then just go to Edit Family. And what I'll do is I'll make it 420 wide, 594 high. There we are. And I'll save that so that you can use this one as well. So I'll just go to Save As, Family, and make sure it's saving where you can get to it. Yes, it is. So you can go and find this file. So I'll call it A2 metric blank no border, sorry, portrait. Okay, so you'll exactly. Yeah.
We can't make it in Revit?
Oh, you could do exactly what I've just done as well if you want to.
So what did you do? Click on the page?
Yep. Edit Family.
Edit Family.
Make your changes, and then just load it back into the project. Okay, so it's told me that I can't create that element in this view, but if I go now back to the page I was just working on, I can select that page, and then in Properties now, I can choose the new one. Even though it's a bit confusing because it says Landscape, the name of the file is Portrait. So what I'll do actually is I'll go and fix that so that it's not so confusing. So it's just in here, we need to rename that. Don't worry too much about this, but just so it's okay, just again so it's not so confusing. Still going to have trouble fitting, but this is why you put it onto a page in Revit. You probably know that you can actually make a PDF from the view. So if I had that view open, right, I could just go to File, Print PDF, and make a PDF without setting up the sheet. But then how would I know how big that view is going to be on the page? So that's why I'm spending so long showing you how to get the views onto the sheets, so that it's easier when you take it into InDesign, you'll know the size, and you can be sure of the scale then. That's really important. So here I can get this to come back onto the page, and I know then when I go into InDesign or Photoshop, it's going to fit. And that's really important. So again, that view, if I go File, Print, can be made into a PDF as well. So the only view type I haven't shown you is the sections. I'll come back and I'll look at rendered views in a second as well. But just quickly look at the section views, since we haven't looked at those. So I've been showing you that with plans, you can duplicate to make a new view that has the setup you want for your page. With sections, that's not recommended. Okay, so rather than duplicating your section views, just change the graphics to what you want in the view that you've got. Because if you duplicate, I'll just show you why you don't do it. If I duplicate the section, that's section 1. So if I duplicate, you can see it's got section 1, copy 1 here. That's not such a problem. But now if we look at it in plan, okay, so can you see how we've got the section that I had earlier is the one with the numbers. Let's drag that over so you can see. So this one here, that was the original section, and the one I've just dragged away, that's the new section. So because I duplicated the section, it's duplicated the section line as well. That reference has been duplicated. And so I'd have to go and hide that in all the plan views. And that's really not necessary. You don't need to duplicate your section views. Okay, so Revit will let you duplicate them, but it's not recommended. Well, it's not what I recommend. Okay, so in my years of using Revit, I've just found that it creates more work if you duplicate views like that. It's easier just to change it to the setup you want in the view itself. So in other words, set the graphics you want, and again, you've got all the same options as you do with the plan. So it's good to play with those, see what you can get out of Revit. You can, of course, do a lot of the graphics work in Photoshop. But even things like shadows, maybe in this view, the shadow direction doesn't look all that good, but we can go to sun settings just like I did with the plan and play with those angles to see if we can get a better result. It's always a bit confusing in section views. I really have to think about these angles, but sometimes trial and error is as good as anything. So we'll try, say, 90. That's going the wrong way, so let's try going the other way. Say 150. Yeah, that's getting better. And then the altitude, I'll adjust that as well. Put that for 20. Yeah, so that's toned it down. And now the shadows maybe are actually improving the view. So again, you can just fine tune those angles. And maybe that's too much. And then, of course, I'll turn the ground plane off, even though it's not really doing very much. And then, of course, just like the plan view, you've got the option to go into the graph display options and fine-tune those things further. So maybe the shadows I can tone down. Right, and so again, just a little bit of shadow, though, does give some nice depth in views like this. And probably easier than trying to do all of that in Photoshop. Even though, of course, you can still do shadows in Photoshop. Sometimes it is quite difficult, though. Just working out the angles apart from anything else. Okay, so again, that view can go onto a page just like anything else. And if you have them on a page with floor plans, try and line them up. So again, I don't want these horrible titles. So I'll set those views to both be no title. Maybe I can bring this plan down now. Notice how it's giving me a little line to show when these views line up. So keep an eye out for the dashed line. You can see there, if the views aren't lined up, I can easily, again, drag it. And there we are. So hopefully you can see that dashed line that's coming up to show me the views are aligned. Now, these section markers could be hidden, and you maybe could do a better job in InDesign to do a cleaner, simpler section. But again, that's something you can look at with the lower. And then coming back to my section. Okay, so section 1, as before, it's going to tell me that the view's already on another sheet. So I can't place it onto this sheet until I've taken it off the other sheet. So here, I know that it's probably this sheet here that has it, and so I'll just delete that whole sheet. So now I can drag section 1 across, and again, just like the plan views, it's going to give me that dashed line to show when they're in line. So if I set that to no title, again, we can probably just fit. It's not a good layout, but again, just want to show you how you should line them up. You're going to have them on the same page. So always keep them in line if it's possible. So also, though, you probably want the graphics to match, so I'll set this to realistic mode. Okay, so the only other view type is the render perspectives. So I'll go back to this one. So I looked at rendering last week, and so I won't go too much into rendering. So I have a look at the videos that I've done earlier for that. But then here you can see I've saved some rendering. That's an earlier one, so I'll actually render a new one. So I've got the perspective. Let's check my shadows. Yeah, they're not too bad, so I'll actually just use interior sun only. And I'll do it on draft so it just goes quickly. Have any of you had a look at rendering with the cloud?
No.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't used the cloud yet? Okay, I'll quickly show you that then. So you can render locally, so that means clicking render on your computer. Draft sometimes is okay, but here you probably want at least medium. Be careful of the higher settings. Sometimes they'll actually make it worse. Okay, and so unfortunately when you go to high, you have to tweak quite a few things to make it work properly. Yeah, lower medium. Yeah, more draft or medium. Yeah. Again, high is better in some cases, but again, you do need to tweak something, a few settings to get it to work properly. But in a way, it's good because medium generally does a pretty good job, and it's much quicker than the higher settings as well. Okay, so that's done. So, yeah, I'll have to do that in a minute. Okay, so again, that's on medium. When you go to high, again, in most cases, it'll probably seem worse until you tweak a few things. So I've done that render, and now to save it, I'm going to click Save to Project, and then OK. But then another really good option, if you know that you're going to work in Photoshop especially, is to export the view from here. So when you click Export, it'll save it as one of these formats. So have you used any of those? JPEGs, definitely. Would have come across JPEGs for sure. What about any of the others? Oh, good, yeah. Yeah, TIFFs are pretty good. TIFFs are generally the highest quality. So TIFF can be a good option.
Higher than JPEG?
Yeah, absolutely. TIFFs are much higher than JPEG. Yep. So TIFF's a really good format. It probably is the highest quality generally. But in this case, PNG is the best option. PNG is like a higher quality JPEG, and it gives you a few special options with Revit as well. So generally PNG is the best option when you're saving your renders. And you'll see PNGs a lot with internet and all sorts of things. Okay, so I'm just going to choose where I save it as well. That's very important. Okay, so now that's saved as a separate file, and I can open that in Photoshop. So there it is. And then adjust it. Not the greatest render, of course, but again, just showing you the process. So we can use adjust exposure to fine-tune that, and you can do a lot with that. You can see already that's much better with it cooler, and lots of other things you can do. Brightness, of course, really important. There's a lot I could do with this render to make it better, but I'll leave it like that for now. So because you haven't done, by the sound of it, render to cloud, better have a look at that quickly. So this is something you'll use much more in your future projects. Most of the third year people do most of their renders this way. So on the View tab, you've got Render in Cloud, but you need to be signed in to use it to your Autodesk account. So up here, I'll go to sign in to Autodesk. And this might take a minute, usually it's not this slow. It's just thinking for some reason. Ask me why. Shouldn't take this long at all. Just give it a second though. It's normally much faster than this. And this is a tip. Whenever I'm using these programs for my own work, I'm signed in the whole time. Yeah. There are lots of, it makes a big difference. There's lots of things you can do with that. Now, it may be getting blocked by the proxy settings in here, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to Render in Cloud and see, no, it's the same thing. Okay, so maybe we can't do this straight away, but try it on your own computers, and it's an easy thing to use once you've signed in. Pretty much, yeah. There are a few options to choose, but it's fairly intuitive. It's higher quality, yeah, and faster because they render off on the computers in America or in Singapore as well. They've got a big render farm there. Oh, here we go. Working. Okay, so now that I'm signed in, you can see up here, it'll go through the options for rendering, so I'll hit continue, and again, just got a few options to choose from. Probably the most important is the image size and the render quality. So there, I'll change the render quality to final, and the image size, I'll just go to large for now. So that's going to take 2 credits. Which is fine. With a student account, you basically have unlimited credits, but you can only use a certain number in a certain amount of time. So if you do too many high quality renders, they might limit your rendering for a little while. So for text renders especially, you just go for lower quality or lower image sizes. 2 credits isn't very much. Go to render, and if you get a message about missing images, usually it's fine just to click OK. So there, I'll just hit continue in background, and it'll keep going. And the great thing about this is that it doesn't affect your computer at all. So you can be working on a really slow laptop, and the render will go through at the same speed. So again, they're rendering off on these supercomputers off in another country, and it's a great service. So then to check those renders, on the View tab again, you can go to Render Gallery, and that will take you to your account, where you'll see all of your renders that you've done with the cloud. So I've actually got some here that some students have done previously. So these have all been done in the cloud. Zooming in a bit there. Okay, so that's a cloud render. There's a few of them. So these are all cloud renders. That one's actually just done with Photoshop. But again, the one over in the middle, that's definitely cloud. Okay, so here we are. So that's open. So these are some things that I've done, just doing demos in class mostly. But again, they're all stored there, so it's a great, great thing to have, and you can access it from anywhere. So again, those files can be opened in Photoshop just like everything else. So I'll just finish up by showing you that by using Save to Project, it has saved the render there. Again, pretty terrible render, but I'll live with it. And those can be put onto sheets just like all of your other views. But again, if you're doing the rendering with Revit and you want to adjust that further with Photoshop, it's probably not the best option. You don't really need to place those rendered views onto sheets, even though you can do it. It's probably better to, again, export them. And it's quite difficult. If you've saved them like this, if you have to get them from there, there is a way you can actually export images this way. But it doesn't work as well as saving them. So if you make sure you remember, after you've done the render, in here, notice how it's all gone. Yeah. Right? So if I'd forgotten to export, I'd have to render it again. So just to help you, that's right. I usually do both, just in case the export gets lost or something. I've got it in the project. But yeah, that's like I'm saying, it is the best if you remember to especially export every time you do a render that you're happy with. Export it, and then you can open them up separately in Photoshop. And that's the best option. So I'll just finish up by showing you some professionally done work that I've done. What's going on here? Internet today. Shocking. Yeah, I'll get it turned up in a minute. Yeah, I'll do that in a minute. Okay, so, yeah, so I get used to the cold with all the skiing and things like that, so I don't notice it. Anyhow, so I will get them changed in a moment. This shouldn't take this long to load, so maybe we'll see on here. I've got a few that I can show you, but not as good. This should open pretty quickly. I don't know why it's so slow today. Okay, I'll get another page up while that's loading. Okay, so this guy, I think I've shown you already. Alex Hogreef, have I shown you? Oh, okay. He's one of my favourite people for learning about the work you're doing. So have a look at him. Laura will show you lots of great stuff that he does in a similar way. So he focuses on Photoshop and tools like that. Alex Hogreef. So his website's Visualising Architecture. And the reason I'm showing you that is because he does a lot of similar work to what I was going to show you. Don't know why it's still not opening. So he uses a lot of 3D programs, but then enhances those images a lot with Photoshop. And that's the best approach. The people who say to do it either one way or the other usually are... Yes, yes he does, yep. So really the key is not to use only one approach or the other. It's all about, I suppose, developing a multimedia approach and using a range of tools and getting the one that's going to work the best for the project you're working on. Oh, here we are. Okay, so these are mostly 3D renders, but then you'll see a lot of these. So there's one. That's had the people obviously added with Photoshop. Here again, the cars, that's been stuck on with Photoshop. Lots of these, even that actually had a lot of work done in Photoshop, even though it might look like it's all 3D. So that's really important. And here we go, Alex does even more than that. So here we go, this is a really good example, I think, of a mix of Photoshop with the 3D rendering. A lot of people look at that and think it's all 3D, when in fact it's actually mostly Photoshop. So that style of graphics is really popular in architectural and high-end interior design presentations, that sort of thing. And then there was another really good one there, this one. That's a really good example of mixing Photoshop again with 3D rendering and modelling. So the bulk of it was done in 3D, but then really what makes the image, the planting, the people, backgrounds, all done in Photoshop. Okay, so hopefully that can give some good ideas and especially give you the process for going from Revit to Photoshop and InDesign. You're not using Illustrator, are you? It's being InDesign. Yeah, you can do it all with InDesign, so yeah, forget Illustrator. So unless you've got any questions about any of those things, I'll give your screens back and you can keep going. So again, just to finish off with the program, so in case you missed it earlier, it's just saying this is what we were programmed to look at today. And so I've gone through all of those things except schedules. We'll look at that later. It's a great thing in Revit. You've got, if you look in the project browser, you've got schedules quantities, and you will have some schedules already in your file, but I'll show you later how you can make some more useful schedules when it's more relevant to what you're working on.